Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, delighted to have your company. Scott Allen and Tam McManus are here with me in the studio to look forward to a big night of football in the Scottish Premiership. We'll look at that big battle up at Pittodrie. Of course, Rangers face a battle on and off the park. Those financial figures are not good reading. Elsewhere, James Forrest still going strong at 34. He's certainly won so many titles and so many medals that we were looking at some of the most decorated footballers across the globe. He's certainly running close to Bobby Lennox's record as the most decorated Celtic player. And what about the Ballon d'Or awards? A wee bit of sour grapes from Real Madrid saying that they weren't shown respect in these awards. If you can't win them, should you at least show the dignity to turn up at the awards anyway and show your support for the Ballon d'Or? It's all subjective. It's open to your debate. The two boys are here and we've got lots to talk about. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and download that app as well, and you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips. So, this scene that we're about to show you is so romantic it defies belief, because ahead of Aberdeen against Rangers, it's fair to say Blair Malloy, Kobe Henderson has found the most romantic area in Aberdeen ahead of the big match against Rangers.
Yes, Peter, good evening. I think it's fair to say that Kobe has brought me to the most scenic point in all of Aberdeen this evening. Just let the viewers have a wee look behind us here as we look over the Granite City, where the stage is set tonight for an absolutely epic battle. Aberdeen hosting Rangers at second versus third in the Scottish Premiership tonight, and what is proving to be a massive week for Philippe Clement. It started off on Sunday winning against St Mirren. Tonight takes on Aberdeen before that huge semi-final against Motherwell on Sunday. All punctuated, of course, with those financial results revealed yesterday, which proved that Rangers are £17 million in the hole, which is not good reading for Rangers fans at all. However, there will be some salve this evening if they can produce a result against Aberdeen and Jimmy Tilline's winning machine, as it's known up here at Pittodrie. But it will be a very, very tough game. Philippe Clement yesterday, in the press conference, he batted away any accusations that this is a must-win game for him, saying that every game at Rangers is a must-win. However, I don't know if Rangers fans will be seeing that way if the result doesn't go their way tonight.
Yeah, and I'm delighted that Kobe has joined you there. Kobe, what's it like in that city at the moment? Because there's just a sense every time we watch Aberdeen that you're going to get a winner. What's the mood like in the camp, with the fans and with the manager and players?
Yeah, it's a party at the moment, Peter. I think it shows from the 3 sellouts in a row. I can't remember the last time Pittodrie has sold out 3 times in a row, and that just, emulates what's been going on here. Jimmy Tilline always keen to show it's not just him when he gets the plaudits, it's the players, it's the fans, and it comes together as one. And that's what he's building here. I'm sure, Blair, you'll see it soon. Peter, you saw it when you were up, just the spirit among the city right now, and it's going to be a cauldron at Pittodrie later tonight. The atmosphere against Dundee United was electric when Aberdeen went 1-0 up. Just the fans coming around and obviously singing the chants about winning the league. Peter, I know you are a fan of those, so hopefully, maybe seeing more of those tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite an unusual song. It only has one verse: "F you Celtic, we're going to win the league." The Dons don't like to put too many choruses in there. It's just one simple song, and they all join in, Scott.
Yeah, well, listen, I think in terms of an Aberdeen point of view, no one probably would have suggested that they were going to start the season as well as they have. They've been outstanding. They've had injuries in their squad, and players have come in and done really well. So they're in a great place, I think, for Rangers going up there. Not really recently have Rangers went up there and looked like they're really going to dominate a match. So it's a huge game for both clubs. But for me, I think tonight Rangers might just surprise us all.
Yeah, listen, the good thing about it is everybody's excited, Kobe, because of what Aberdeen are doing. How big a blow is it not to have Nisbet there, although Sockler seems to have stepped up to the plate?
Yeah, Jimmy Tilline was saying at his press conference it's just coming a bit too early for Kevin Nisbet. He started well at Aberdeen. I do feel this game would suit Esther Sockler that bit better when he played against Rangers. Up top with Miovski last season, he caused him a lot of problems, and I think it's a game like when he came on against Celtic, he caused the difference. He never was quite as influential against Dundee United, but they sit back a lot. Rangers aren't going to be sitting back, you'd assume, at Pittodrie. They'll be going for it, which will leave gaps for Esther Sockler to exploit. Running in behind, you'll be thinking Topi Keskinen will be looking to find him. And I just feel Aberdeen will line up similar to the way they lined up against Dundee United, with Esther Sockler alongside Duke and Topi Keskinen.
Yeah, and of course, again, we talked about the really feel-good factor, Blair, with regards to Aberdeen. But let's talk about Rangers here, because you know, you've been at games, we've been watching them week in, week out. They're not firing in all cylinders, but now the pressure is really on, because the manager says it's a long-term plan. The previous chairman said it has to be a long-term plan. And now you've got the interim chairman and John Gilligan saying they have to look and try and get key people in at boardroom level, try to get investment, and try to have that long-term plan which reduces the average age of the side. So in a week like this week, the last thing Philippe Clement can suffer is to go 9 points behind Aberdeen.
Yes, I think you're right, Peter. I think there is a level of patience that the fans have, and I think it's running thin at the minute. I think performances like we've seen last week against Kilmarnock when they went down 1-0, and even against St Mirren when they weren't firing on all cylinders, albeit they did right some wrongs with that win against Steaua Bucharest, but you'd have to think that if they don't get the result tonight, like you said, the patience of the fans for that rebuild might be running thin, and the pressure will surely mount on Philippe Clement. Interesting you talked about there young players coming into the side. One of the players that's impressed me, having watched Rangers over the last few weeks, is Nicholas Raskin. He's a player who's come back from a long-term injury. Philippe Clement himself says that he is like a new signing in the side, and he's maybe starting to build his way into the team and starting to show the player that Rangers signed in the first place. On the other end of the scale, of course, all the headlines on Sunday were about James Tavernier. He was sensationally dropped from the starting lineup, the Rangers captain. The Rangers fans outside the ground on Sunday that I spoke to, very mixed emotions about that. Some saying it was due, others saying you can't drop the captain. Even Ryan Jack, who interviewed on PLZ Soccer yesterday, said that he must start tonight to be influential against the Dons. So it'll be very interesting to see how Philippe Clement lines up tonight. One thing is for certain though, he'll have to go with players that he trusts, because a result tonight for me is absolutely imperative.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic night. I know that, you know, at this point, I might as well tell you, Tam, Blair is staying in one of the top hotels in the area. And of course, he's not only that, but he's obviously going to have to do a match report while Kobe lets off 2 flares and has a 50-foot flag. How difficult is his job? It's going to be tough.
It is. It's going to be mixed emotions for the 2 boys tonight. One will be one result, one will be wanting the other. But I'm sure they'll go out and have a good night after it in Aberdeen and celebrate either way.
And the good thing about Kobe is, being an Aberdonian, it's a great chance to go to a nightclub and just put 2 straws in 1 drink, and that'll do you for the rest of the night. Anyway, apart from that, you 2 guys have a great night. I know you're going to enjoy it. Absolutely top drawer. Blair Malloy and Kobe Henderson up there for the game. It's one of those games you'd actually love to be there. That's absolutely brilliant. Those 2 are going to love it.
Yeah, I'm going to love it, to be fair. I'm the same as you, Peter. I'd love to have been there tonight. I think both teams are going to go out and try and win the game. I think that's one thing we can see about Jimmy Taitlin's team. He's not looking to maybe catch on the counter-attack. He's out to win games. Seen that, especially that second half at Celtic. So, listen, and you know what it means for Rangers. The fans don't accept that, so they need to go out and try and get a foothold in this game very early on, try and put Aberdeen in the back foot. So, listen, I think it's got all the makings of a cracker tonight.
Yeah, thanks to so many of you for your comments on how you think it's going to go. And of course, some people actually working out where the 2 boys are. So thanks to Aurora, who says, I see the boys are Tory side. The Dons 3-1, says Aurora. Lots of people have got their own opinion on how they think it's going to go. But we are about to find out over the course of tonight. And of course, the Journo show on tomorrow on PLZ Soccer will reflect the results from the Scottish Premiership. But of course, Philippe Clement has been speaking ahead of this game. He knows exactly what's at stake.
No, for insights, we're going to go full for these 3 points, and we're going to go hard. And we have confidence that we're going to play a really good season. We don't need that moment to be ready for Sunday, for example. We want to be ready for Sunday. So it's game by game, giving our best.
Yeah, absolutely. The atmosphere will be electric. How do you think they're going to play it? How do you think both teams will set out to play this game?
Well, I think if you're Aberdeen, obviously being the home side and obviously ahead of Rangers League, you want to try and dominate them, say, get their defence pinned back, get them in behind, get Rangers defenders running back to their goal. I know it's quite cliche, Tam will tell you, but that's how you kind of settle in the other team's half as early as you can. And
do you think they'll high press?
Aberdeen?
Yeah.
I would think so. I think if you're looking at Rangers from a coach's point of view, you would say you can get at them defensively, especially playing out. So yeah, I think they will high press, obviously, with the confidence that's going through the team at the moment as well. I think they'll be confident enough to go and believe that they can press Rangers high and create chances from it.
And what's the message from Philippe Clement to his Rangers side?
The message, I think, is they'll the same. Start the game well. Can we play the game in their half? Can we get more creative players on the ball? Can we get Aberdeen's fans not as loud as you'll probably hear them before the game? All the kind of basics of football, especially, I think, for Rangers, there's huge pressure on Rangers tonight to go and get a result here. I think if they were to lose and be 9 points, I know it's only going to be November by the time they play the next league game, but it's still it's a big ask to claw that back, especially because how inconsistent Rangers have been this season.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the financial situation shortly, but Tam, Nigel says, I'm a Celtic fan, Pittodrie says, but I'm positive Rangers will beat Aberdeen this evening. Aberdeen were extremely lucky and only had a good 15-minute period in the second half at Parkhead when they scored 2 goals. And we have, to be fair, we have witnessed times. I mean, Hearts should have been out of sight against Aberdeen, but they've been able to. In any football game, you're going to get difficult periods, but if you can ride out that storm and suddenly pick teams off.
Yeah, they've done that really well this season, Aberdeen, at times. They've been under pressure, they've suffered and they've come back into the game, they've held tight and they've had moments in the game, they've won the game or got points that they've done at Parkhead. But I just think this game really suits Rangers. I think the way Rangers set up, particularly in European terms, when they go away from home in Europe, the other team attacks them and it leaves spaces for Rangers to exploit. And I think Aberdeen will high press. I don't think they'll change anything. I think they've got success playing the way they've been playing. And I don't think Jimmy Tilley is going to sit back tonight, especially rode on by a sell-out crowd. They'll go after Rangers early. And if Rangers can just get that first or second pass through Aberdeen's press and into their midfield, I feel they can go and counter-attack Aberdeen and create chances at their end. So I think that the way the game should suit Rangers. But I think if Aberdeen get the first goal, then listen, it's game on. And as Scott said, 9 points already this season. Not only 9 points behind Celtic, possibly. Yeah. Celtic win the night, but 9 points behind Aberdeen. It's totally unacceptable on the back of, obviously, yesterday's disaster financially for Rangers. So you're right, the pressure is big time on Rangers tonight.
Yeah, I'll get to that point you make, which is a very good point on the pressures of going 9 points behind Aberdeen. But just on the really positive aspect of this, we were talking about sell-up signs going out everywhere, fans turning up in great numbers. The turning up in great numbers when you get a response where there's a side that starts to really put some results together. United coming back into the league and, fans are turning out up at Tannadice. The Dons take a great travelling support with them, but when they're winning, my God, 3 sellouts is magnificent at Pittodrie.
Yeah, it's because Aberdeen in the last few seasons have been struggling, I think, crowd-wise. They've not been getting sellouts. There's been an apathy about the club, going through, managers willy-nilly and just not being successful. And, they've finally got a manager now. I think the whole team, the whole city's behind. I think that, there's a real confidence about Aberdeen at the minute, even at level the other night against Dundee United. Second half, they just stepped up a gear after half time, and they deserved to win.
They really wanted it the other night.
They did. You can see them going after teams and want to win. And same at Celtic, 2-0 down. They've got a real spirit about the team, inside the team. They've got experience in there. You like the boy Nielsen in the middle of the park, Graham Shinnie there as well. They've got good experience, Nicky Devlin, but they've also got pace and power in the forward area. So they look a good outfit. But again, this will be a big test from tonight against a Rangers team, which I think will counter-attack them.
Before we give the prediction, I think Rangers man for man have got better players. I just can't see a team formation or a style about them. I can't see it. I just see little glimpses of, moves that deliver a goal. Where Czerny suddenly looked as if he's got his shooting boots on. but I just don't see something you say that's their identity.
No, and I think the fact that we're end of October and we're still trying to find that, and I think Philippe Clement's trying to find that and still trying to find his best team. I think that kind of sums up how Rangers' season has went in terms of Aberdeen. That's what gets fans behind managers, seeing a system, but also seeing players who maybe, like your Kevin Nisbet, who step out the team, somebody else comes in and the system still works and the player just moulds into what the previous players did. Rangers don't have that. I feel if Rangers are short of a couple of players, you can really tell. I know obviously Tavernier was, people saying, dropped or rested, whatever way you want to look at it. I would agree with Ryan Jack. James Tavernier's got to start tonight.
Yeah.
He has delivered over the years, that experience, and a big game. He's a Rangers captain, you know, and he should be thriving on that. But when we talk about systems, Rangers haven't been fluent to watch all season. To expect that to come tonight against Aberdeen, I don't even think the fans would care about the performance. I think it's all about result tonight.
Yeah, the issue for me is the striking department at Rangers. I think they played Igamani at the weekend and he was poor. They get hooked at half time. Dessers for me hasn't been great this season either. He struggles to hold the ball up, and Rangers can't get up the park. You know, when he can't hold the ball up. They can't get players up beside him, and I think that's a real issue for Rangers is the striking department. I think in the middle of the park, Sherney's come into a game. Thankfully for them, I think he scored 5 goals in the last 4 games. You know, so he's coming really into a game, but it's that focal point of the team, that number 9 for me, which is a major issue for Rangers. So I think Dessers will come back into the team tonight, but need a big performance for him. Need him to hold the ball up and get fouls and get the team up the park, because he's been really, really poor in that aspect over the last couple of games I've watched him.
Have you seen anything that a Dessers to think that he can come in it tonight and give you that sort of performance this season? Though?
Not this season. I think last season he obviously scored a lot of goals, but I think that papered over the cracks of his all-round game. Yeah. And I think, you know, you look at him, I looked up and down at Kilmarnock the first half, easy passes, you know, taking wrong decisions, ball bouncing off him. He's got to get a hold of the ball. If he gets a hold of the ball, then Rangers can get themselves up the park and get bodies round about him.
Although let's give him credit, he was the driving force to get Cherny the winning goal against St Mirren.
Yeah, he was.
You know, now the other thing, and I'm not in any way diminishing or in any way being disparaging towards your financial knowledge with regards to accounts. The only reason I'm going to mention this as a rider prior to it is because as head of sport at Radio Clyde, I was blowing my brains out first time around when Rangers went into administration and liquidation, because you had former footballers, some sitting down telling you chapter and verse as if they were totally well versed on figures, which was a complete and utter lot of nonsense. I almost married the guy from PricewaterhouseCoopers because I was speaking to him practically every day. But the key issue here is it's another set of financial figures. They've posted Rangers in these figures a £17.2 million net loss, up from £4.1 million the previous year. The annual accounts show a core revenue of £88.3 million, total income of £94.2 million, and commercial revenue of £67 million. The one thing that they haven't been able to do is successfully trade players at the right time for a substantial amount of money. They had a loss of £2 million, which was down from 10.5 the previous year. So there's a lot of work that John Gilligan and the board has to do. Their net borrowing is up from £16.5 million to £28.4 million, and they've agreed additional funding of £8.6 million with current investors. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist. We're not making the figures up. But since 2012, Rangers really have posted losses. Some of them at times have been significant and worrying. Some of them have been to really push the boat out to stop Celtic winning 10 in a row. And of course, the other aspect of this, which I think, you know, Rangers board have been keen to do, and I think John Bennett was certainly one man who was keen to do it, was to get Rangers out of court cases. Because lawyers constantly spending money, taking people to court, some that you shouldn't have even bothered going into court with. It's all subjective, but it was costing the club lots of money. And the trading blueprint on players and recruitment, everybody knows. It doesn't take an accountant to work it out. Everybody knows the recruitment has not been good.
Well, they spent £21 million on players last season, Peter, and they'll probably get money, a couple of million for Dessers. Out of that 21 million they spent, I don't see anything that they're going to get substantial money for. Butland was probably last season was maybe the time to cash in on him, you know, to get decent money, and that's the issue. You're looking at the Rangers squad and you're thinking, okay, if we were to go and sell a couple of players to raise money, there's nobody there, Peter, that they can get money for. You know, £90 million revenue and losing £17 million. I mean, it's not as if they're not making money. They're making money, you know, but they're spending it terribly.
Wages as well.
The wages, they're obviously cutting the wages back now, which they've got to do. I read like 2 seasons ago they were on a par with Celtic wages-wise. No, now obviously not, because the money Celtic have spent this season and last season, but they're hemorrhaging money, Peter. They're not spending it well, whether that's recruitment or other aspects of the club. The directors are getting it in the neck, but some of the directors are propping the club up at the minute. You know, they're putting their money in to keep the club going. Some of them are converting money into loans into shares. So it's a real mess at the minute. If you're a Rangers supporter, you're looking at the figures, you're really worried about the future of the club. And they need to... I don't think it's sustainable, the current model. I think they need outside investment. I think they need... Well, cliche, a sugar daddy. They need somebody to come in with really deep pockets and put money into the club, because the current board of directors, they're doing well. They're putting their own money in. You've got to give them credit for that. But they're never going to close the gap on Celtic the way they are doing it just now.
I mean, I have my own thoughts on the league and the way it is structured at the moment, which is why Aberdeen are a breath of fresh air, Scott. How they can sustain that is very, very difficult, given that Aberdeen, obviously with Dave Cormack and the board, are trying to give the manager as much as possible. So every player they sign, it's so critical that they step up to the plate. Their percentage of failures, you know, it is felt more up at Aberdeen. If you buy a player and he's not contributing, you know, it's painful. So, but Rangers, they've spent a lot of money. There's times when they should have sold players, but they're trying to balance that with an ever fanatical Rangers support who will not tolerate second. And that has its own major problems. And then finding, as Tam mentioned, finding someone who's going to come in and invest in the club and give them that stability and then take them forward, it is going to be mightily, mightily difficult. I know John Gilligan, he's a good man. I like John. I've been friendly with him for a long, long time. He's a good businessman, but even he knows that this is a game of spinning plates.
Yeah, I think once you tally up all the things that can attribute to the problems, it is a real difficult situation for Rangers Football Club, no question. I think for me as a player, and obviously I know more about the type of recruitment that they have, try to go down the route they've tried to go down the last few years. It just hasn't been good enough. There's no simple way about it. I think what you get with the Rangers fans is they look across the road and they see the value for money Celtic have had with some players. Rangers haven't had that. I would say luck, because I think Tam will tell you, in football you can sign a player based on the stats and what you see in a video, but you could get injured in the first day. Certain things can unfold and he doesn't have that impact that you would expect. So Rangers, in terms of guys coming in and really taking the place of light, we've not really seen it in years, since maybe Ryan Kent's first season on loan, and they spend the £7 million. What happens 4 years later? He goes for nothing. So £7 million plus all the wages they've paid him over the time, and they don't get any money back for making a player better. So that's kind of been Rangers' problem. I feel when you look at recruitment this summer, is the quality of a high enough level that Rangers can maybe turn around in 2 years, get money for? I'm not so sure, and I think for me that's the biggest problem at the club at the moment. Fans are looking at players and seeing, can we turn him into maybe a level or 2 levels above player, make a lot of money for him the way Celtic do with players, and I don't think they can.
Yeah. Brian says Gilligan can't be a good businessman when his club's been with for years, has lost millions. It doesn't add up or make sense. Well, with all due respect, it's not John Gilligan's fault. Some of the mess that Rangers find themselves in over this period, coming out of the lower leagues as well. I could look at this as a long overview, and you could dedicate an entire programme to it. But for me, I think the whole aspect of it has been, from 2012 onwards, you know,
from Zelly, is that still attributing a lot of the problems from?
I just think that from 2012 onwards, there was a 45-year period where there was a real misspend of money, huge amounts of money played to players,
Even in the third division?
to get them out of the third
you're right.
division,
That's
which is
right.
a nonsense.
Yep, you're right.
And that pain just has been felt year in, year out, non-stop. And you say to yourself, well, there are certain areas where they've managed to stabilise. Yes, they've stabilised because they've had the pain before that's meant it's really difficult. Instead of maybe trying to build the club and make it even more financially stable, they're stabilising it because they're paying huge wages in the lower leagues to get out of it. When, you know, a half-decent manager could have got them out of the lower leagues with a fraction of the spend. And then, of course, you had the battle for power, then you had court cases, then you had people not with Rangers' interest. The one group that's always had Rangers' interests has been the fans. They've been the one consistent throughout it all, which is quite simply, when they've been called upon, they've put their money in there. They've tried hard to put their money in, back the club as much as possible, and then you've got a group of individual wealthy people who consider themselves fans, who've bailed them out with soft loans. So it's a difficult one. I genuinely think the biggest problem, and I know this is not going to cut some ice with a lot of people, but I genuinely think that for the next decade, Celtic are quite simply a Grand Canyon ahead of them. And I can only see title after title for Celtic unless something changes on that Rangers board, because Celtic are a well-oiled machine and they're a wealthy, well-oiled machine.
Well, you look at the 12 years, Peter, since Rangers come back into the league. 3 trophies they've won. 3 trophies they've won. Scottish Cup, a League Cup and a league. Major trophies, I'm not talking the Petrofat Cup or stuff like that. St Johnstone have won 3 trophies in that period as well. You know, when you look at the money that Rangers have lost, they've lost over £100 million in 12 years for 3 trophies. And you're right, you look at from now until in the next 12 years, can you see Rangers winning any more than 3 trophies in the next 12 years? I don't, unless they get someone in very, very wealthy that's going to come in and really pump money into the club.
Or you get a manager who has serious tactical strengths and has the potential to build a team from foundation up, which maybe get 3 seasons down the line.
It's a big call, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just before we finish on this, I don't even think they can afford to sack Philippe Clement, even if it's going pear-shaped in the next couple of weeks. I can't see, and with Philippe Clement, he has said,
And his staff as well.
He's signed a deal, but with the board, it's got to be a long-term plan. You know, even if they were storming the gates at the front door, I can't see. I just think he's going to get all the way through. I mean, if you were in a situation, I don't want to turn into Hugh Keevins, but if you were in a situation where you lost to Aberdeen, you lost the semi-final, I know what Hugh's like, prophet of doom. So if you were, looking at it and saying to yourself, well, how bad could this week get? Well, I'll tell you how bad it could get. Poor financial figures, lost to Aberdeen, knocked out of the cup. You'd be thinking to yourself, all hell would let loose. I mean, that is the situation. I think Rangers will book their place in the final. But tonight is such a massive game, because at the end of the day, 9 points, you can get it back. Because obviously the other thing about it we're not taking into the equation, Tam, is Aberdeen are going to have a shaky spell. So Rangers have to be able to capitalise on that. But this is a £60 million roll of the dice this year.
Yeah, it is, and you look at the coefficient, Peter, I think in years to come, there might not be automatic group stage. I was reading it yesterday on some of the coefficient stuff. You know, I think we're down to 15th at the minute. So it could be a spell where no club, not even Celtic, is guaranteed Champions League football. And if Rangers were to lose the group football in Europe, you know, with the current figures that they're goosed. That European money that Rangers have been getting, the group stage football over the last couple of seasons has been absolutely vital for them. So, yeah, you're right. It's a massive game. If you've got any aspirations of actually putting a challenge up to Celtic this season in the league, you've got to go up with Aberdeen and win.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as a footnote, and I very rarely, I can't remember the last time I said it, but it's because it's such an emotional topic and subject. if you are on the comment section, we genuinely like, we've got a live section that we do because a lot of fans said they wanted the live bit back. And we also have huge amounts of people who actually watch this programme at their leisure on their television, YouTube, watch it on the laptop, or indeed their tablets. And we really are delighted that you do support us. But I would say I'd rather have 75% decent people and lose 25% morons by telling you if you are abusive on our feed, or indeed in anything that can be deemed as abusive towards individuals on this, we will ban you. I couldn't give a flying hoot, about it. I will ban people who are just abusive. We've got no time for them. Go and follow Trump in the rally. On that note,
Who's getting abused?
well, he wants.
How did you get to Donald Trump there?
Well, honestly, because I love politics and I'm watching them unfold at the moment, and
You're not a Trumper?
Well, I'm not a Trumper. I don't have any time for people who are racist. I don't have any time for people who are sectarian. And of course, there are some people who just don't get the message. And unfortunately, the downside of social media is it's given a platform to cretins without a brain, or indeed people with a brain who have a bigoted attitude, which is just something that do your head in. But with that in mind, we try to talk about football. We try to be positive about football. The fans are definitely positive about football, because you mentioned, never mind the Aberdeen sellout, they're turning up. I was at the Edinburgh Derby. It was magnificent.
Yeah, the turnout for Hibs was superb, considering.
Great having an away support, isn't it? That full end, isn't it?
No, I think that's what we're crying out for in the Rangers and Celtic game. But
I post it every time I go to the Edinburgh Derby.
What did you say?
I just post the Hearts fans and I go, proper Derby.
Nah, do you know what though? It was a great turnout, considering both teams have obviously not had a great start to the season, and obviously first half wasn't a great watch, but we got a bit of excitement in the second half. Obviously good to see a young player come off the bench as well, young Scottish player come off and get an equaliser.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Love the Derby, Tom.
Yeah, both fortunate to play in the Derby games and score in the Derby games, and the whole city gets behind either side of and it's always a great atmosphere. Listen, there's some game I played in a 4-each game. I played in a 6-2 win and a 5-1 defeat. I've played in a lot of high scoring games. I've also played in 0-0 stinkers where it's been horrific. So I think finally, as Scott says, football broke out in the second half. We started to get something. Hibs creating some chances, and a draw. Some will argue Hibs had a better chance. A draw's probably the right result.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Hearts against Kilmarnock. We're going to try and cover every game, and of course we will get reaction to it on the journals tomorrow. If you can join us, Stephen McGowan of the Daily Mail will be joining myself and Hugh McDonald, and we'd love to hear from you on the programme tomorrow. There's lots of content on PLZ Soccer's YouTube, one-to-ones. Ryan Jack was kind enough to join us from Turkey, where he's doing well. We'll have lots of one-to-ones coming up heading into the festive period. And let's not forget also, we've got some absolute fantastic acting. I don't know about you, Scott, but...
Scott and Ryan done their bit? Have they done their bit?
No, they haven't. Obviously, Ryan's otherwise engaged today, but he will be back.
Is Ryan not coming in today because the Pars pumped him last night 3-0?
Well, that's speculation.
Oh, we still watched the highlight.
Aye, the boy Kane absolutely ragdolled him, man.
Yeah, well, to be fair, we will actually bring it up next week, even though the game's passed. But he will be back with us. But the acting now has gone up to another level. We had Patrick and Kerry do our, obviously, the Christmas. You can get your Maestro top, which is fantastic. You can get the Legends T-shirts. And I just hope, I wonder, let's just see, if you're struggling for a Christmas present, if you're struggling to find something ideal for the one you love, you're looking for something for training, something for lounging about in, something to look trendy in with your mates and they won't have it, then in the PLZ Soccer shop, there's something for everyone, as you're about to find out.
Ruffy, I'm rubbish at buying Christmas presents, but this year, I think I've nailed it for all my mates.
Me too, Tom. But the PLZ Soccer shop has got Maestro tops. It's got Legends T-shirts already wrapped up for you.
If you love someone this Christmas, wait until you see their eyes light up Christmas morning when they open up a classic from PLZ Soccer.
You don't even need to love them, Tom. Just click on the link.
But
If I get one of them,
That was tremendous. That was good.
That was
really
Oscar
good.
material, isn't
that
it?
was really good.
Yeah.
I got a wee extra part in River City, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's speak about Grant Stott, see if we can get his own.
Well, I certainly could get you on lying on a piece of wood as if you've been killed. What about you? We should get Big Grant on, shouldn't we?
Good guy, huh?
What about you and Ryan? You're going to have to come up to that standard. That was like Once Upon a Time in America. That acting.
Ruffy carried you a bit though, didn't he?
Yeah.
Ruffy was outstanding.
Absolutely. Just stick to the day job, Tam. You're getting absolutely battered in here. Well done. Anyway, if you're looking for something as an ideal Christmas present, get the older Maestro tops. They're good for golf as well, Tam, aren't they?
They are. I've worn it at golf before. They're good for the five-a-sides. They're good out for one for a walk.
You're really selling this, isn't it?
Quality, aye. I want 10%.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be nice if you could start selling it as well. But anyway.
Well, one, you get one.
Yeah, no, I'll rent a freebie. He walked in today and he saw stuff.
Get a blue one.
Well, he walked in today, saw merchandise, and he thought, "Oh, if I'll pick these 5 out right away that I can have." He's unbelievable. He's like a magpie. Anyway, Hearts against Kilmarnock. Cara was out there to preview this one.
It's Kilmarnock versus Hearts in the Scottish Premiership tonight. 7:45 kick-off at Tynecastle, where Derek McInnes's team will be travelling to Tynecastle and hoping to keep 11 players on the pitch. This was Derek McInnes's message to his players after Saturday saw their 5th sending off of the season.
We've got to take ownership of that, and I think what we've got, my message to the players is to got to be squeaky clean, got to be really sure with our work. We've got to kind of give any sort of opportunities for people to be red carded, but consistency has got to be there, and it's not there. I don't care what anybody says, it isn't there at the minute.
Coming off the back of that disappointing defeat on Saturday to Ross County, Derek McInnes wants his side to go make things as hard as possible for Hearts at Tynecastle.
From my own point of view, any time I've took a team to Tynecastle, I would expect a tough game, regardless of personnel, but it's important that we've got a decent record there. We've got a decent record against Hearts over the piece, and we've got to try and go and make it as difficult as possible and try and get the result for ourselves, because regardless of who's in the dugout, regardless what system Hearts play and changes, I'm just looking for us to be the Kilmarnock team that we were for an hour on Saturday and try to get a 90-minute performance that will give us a chance to win the game.
It's a 7:45 kick-off then as Kilmarnock travel to face Hearts in the Scottish Premiership. Of course, PLZ Soccer will have you covered, so make sure that you follow all of our social media channels to make sure you get the action and reaction as it happens.
Yeah, brilliant from Cara, who, of course, is not only full-time with us here as our journalist, striker for Partick Thistle, number 10 for Partick Thistle, plays off the left sometimes, plays in the middle of the park. She's got it all. She can play in all of those positions. She's been brilliant this season.
Yeah, we need to go down and watch her. Why don't
Yeah.
we go down one?
We should do that, by the way.
We should. I think they're playing Glasgow City at the weekend, so she'll probably not get a kick against them.
Yeah.
Because they're top of the league at the minute. So.
We should go down though.
We should actually. What about the heat map the other week there? She was all
that,
over the
I see
park,
that.
you know.
Incredible.
And the great thing about Cara is...
Only get reposted 44 times.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If she scored the worldly, she's saved it for you so you can see it just in case you miss out. St Mirren against St Johnstone, the Battle of the Saints, of course, in the background. A bit of criticism coming towards Stephen Robinson because of the results haven't been great of late. But, of course, the Saints manager has just signed a new deal, and congratulations to him, says there are reasons behind some of the selections that he's had to make.
A lot of things have gone against us off the field that some are aware of, some aren't aware of, some will never be made aware of it, which has been created mitigating circumstances that the teams have picked and the systems I've gone with, but a lot of it's our doing as well. You know, sometimes believe in your own hype, believing that, you know, we win games in a certain way. We don't. We now all are singing in the same, from the same hymn sheet and all running in the same direction, and that will prove in my belief that we will win football matches.
Yeah, the thing about it is, and I think he deserves credit for highlighting it, but fans don't really care. Just win the game.
Yeah, listen, Stephen's got plenty of credit in the bank. I think he's been exceptional for St Mirren. Obviously, set high standards last season, Peter. They get in the top 6, get into Europe, and fans expect that every year, Peter. Doesn't matter if you lose your best players, your budget's cut. It doesn't matter. You're right. They just want to win games. They want to be behind the table. They want other European trips. You know, they love their trips over to Iceland and Norway. So, yeah, they're sticky on at the minute. You know, they're not winning games, but I'm sure St Mirren will be fine this season. I think the top 6 could be a struggle, but I don't see them in any bother at the bottom 2.
Yeah, just before we talk about Celtic, I want you to listen to Ewan Wilson, who attributes the performances that he puts in to nutritionists.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was one of the things that I just never really looked at. I think at the start, but once I got the nutritionist and I looked into it, I've just carried it on, and it's been so beneficial for me. Yeah, I feel a lot lighter and a lot more agile. So also I feel a lot more. I can go a lot longer. Maybe with the extra kilos, maybe I couldn't have went as long as I can now. So yeah.
I think Ruffy might phone him, but to be fair, I might phone him as well. There's a guy on here says, "Great to see Tam now. You can tell he stopped playing just the beginnings of a wee beer belly." I'm thinking, if you're caring Tam, God help me. But I have to say, fair play to him, because that's one thing that I think a lot of footballers, over the last decade, 2 decades. I mean, I'll give you the difference. AC Milan were doing this decades ago. Decades ago, Paolo Maldini was getting his body mass measured every day. They knew what they were eating. Slowly but surely, modern day footballers are embracing that.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I get it. It can impact your performance, but I just see it as a given now for any, especially young player who's any aspirations of moving to bigger clubs and having a long career. It's part and parcel now. It comes with the territory. I think you've got all the information there. I think maybe 10, 15 years ago it wasn't as much key information as you have now. So if you want to give yourself the best chance, the best performances and prolonged career, it's all there for you. You can go on the internet, you can go on Instagram, you can see the documentaries, all the top players and what they do. So I like it, but I would expect that from young Scottish players now.
Yeah, absolutely. The game has moved on so much, Tam. Sometimes you wonder why somebody's been taken off, but the tracker just says they're getting slower, and it's time to get the hook.
Yeah, they've all got the trackers on them. It tells you their heart rate and if they're flatlining or they're running out of steam. So yeah, you're right. I think Cristiano Ronaldo's probably the best proponent of that. And he takes care of himself. He can play as long as he wants. Craig Gordon's another one. David Weir was probably one that I played against when I was at Rangers. 40-year-old Craig Brewster. So if you look after yourself and you're dedicated and you keep yourself trim, then you can play well into your 40s. Because you're right, the game has changed now. It's a lot of fitness now and pace and power. Whereas maybe 60s, 70s, even 80s, it was more ability and it wasn't as fast paced. So yeah, the game has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. No surprise that I think Brendan Rodgers was just trying to highlight to Stuart Kettlewell after the weekend that the tackle on Adam Idah was maybe a little bit more serious than maybe Stuart Kettlewell was looking at it. It was a really nasty knock he took. I can't worry until I get the results back. It was a poor challenge. Thankfully, the ground was wet, so his foot was able to move. Whereas if it was a dry pitch, it could have been a really bad one. He's gotten a bit more movement in it over the last couple of days. We're hopeful he'll come out of it okay. I think everybody agrees there was no malicious intent from Liam Gordon, but nevertheless, it was a bit naughty. It was naughty.
Listen, they're so ones. Listen, as Brendan Rodgers says, you sometimes can't tell until the swelling comes down with the injuries, and obviously Celtic have top door physios and doctors and all that who will then assess it, but there was no question. For me, I did think it was. I think he's been in to try and win the ball, but there is a bit of a
definite red card.
Definite red card.
Yeah, and of course Celtic take on Dundee in this match. Tony Docherty needs Celtic like a hole in the head right now, doesn't he?
Yeah, they're another club that's struggled this season. Again, set high standards last season. Pipped Hibs on the last day of the season. Lost their captain, their best player. I think they had a lot of loan players last season. The two very, very good left backs that went back to their clubs. So I think that they've not brought in as good a player this season as they did at the start of last season. I think that's shown in results and performances. But again, I don't think Dundee have been any bother at the bottom of the league. I think they've got enough in there to stay away from that. But you're right. I think they get a tanking last season at Parkhead, but it was it 6 or 7. So they'll be hoping that they can keep it a bit tighter tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about one special player. Is 34 years of age, in the twilight of his career, but still strutting his stuff. We'll talk about James Forrest after the news headlines.
Hi there, I'm Kerry and here is your daily news update on Wednesday the 30th of October, brought to you by Arnold Clark. Tonight Aberdeen host Rangers in the Scottish Premiership, and Philippe Clement says perhaps it would benefit his side if they're not valued as title contenders.
Again, maybe it's better that they don't think we're in the fight, huh? And that they underestimate us at the end. No, we just focused on ourselves and not on all this noise and things around.
Meanwhile, Don's boss Jimmy Tilleen remains fully focused on his side ahead of this evening's clash.
And every game is a challenge, or opportunities. So I always think like that like what is now is now. What's happening around, I don't think about that at all.
Kilmarnock manager Adam Idah says that the amount of red cards his side have picked up this season is a pattern they must change.
We've got to own the fact that we've had so many red cards, and we've got to be better at that because it's having a big impact on results, a big impact on team selection, and it's no an ideal situation for me. It's the first time I've ever had as many red cards managing a team, and it's something that I don't want to become a habit.
And finally this week, Rangers have reported a loss of £17 million in their annual reports. For all the latest breaking headlines, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, and don't forget to download our app, which is available on Google Play and the App Store.
Yeah, thanks to Kerry there for the headlines. We're talking about players, and one in particular that stuck in my mind. James Forrest was being interviewed talking about his career, 34, end of the season, about a contract. I still think he's got more than a few years left in him. Whether that's at Celtic is another matter, although if Celtic were to win 2 trophies this season, he would surpass Bobby Lennox, albeit, and no disrespect to James, Bobby Lennox is in another level completely.
I think, listen, I played against Jamesy from the age of 10.
Yeah, that long?
Yeah, we were the same age group. Dundee, never forget, first time I played against them down at Science Park, something like that. All stuck to him like glue. He was one from the very first kind of time I set eyes on him. I thought he's got a right chance, and he just got better and better as the years went on.
Yeah, you would have trained with him as well. What is it about him?
What is it with James? I think for a winger, he's very intelligent. He knows what positions to pick up. He's not running into blind alleys. He's very clever, good football IQ. And when he gets into the areas, 9 times out of 10 he either has a finish or he's picking a team out. So I think he has real quality. He came under a lot of criticism at different times in his Celtic career, and always showed that resilience, which is why he's obviously still there at the age he is. So for me, a top player this country's produced.
Yeah, another thing about him, Tam, strangely enough, and I don't think we highlight this as much as we should, but he's one of those players that you couldn't really scratch the surface of knowing what he's about. He's not a front page headliner. I mean, you're the perfect person to speak to this about. He's not a person who gets into
doesn't crave the limelight.
I mean, he's not a person who gets into a scrap.
He's a fun guy.
Well, absolutely, but that's the great thing about it. I mean, he's one of those guys like Callum McGregor. They get on with their life. They're very private. I couldn't even tell you the first thing really about James in the background.
Yeah, he's very humble character. I don't know him personally, but I've spoke to Neil Lennon about him. Neil Lennon loves him. You know, comes in, does his work every day. You know, comes in, trains hard, goes home. Never any bother. Never on the front pages. Never says he's going to do this, do that. You know, he just gets on with it, does his talking on the pitch. And Callum McGregor's another one, and both of them have got umpteen trophies between them. So. Yeah, I think that James has still got a lot in the tank. Obviously, he's getting used sparingly at the minute because, you know, you've got Dyson Maida and Nicholas Kuhn, who have been excellent this season, but he's a great player to bring off the bench. As Scott says, he's very clever. He scored a hat-trick for Scotland as well. You know, so, and we were disappointed that he never got any game time in Germany. You know, he got called in at the last minute. I think he gave up a holiday to come over, and I don't think he played 1 minute. I don't think he even got on, so he was disappointed, but then he still turns up for the next squads. You know, he's not got an ego. He doesn't throw his toys out the pram. He turns up at the next one and he just waits for his chance. So, no, I think he's been a fantastic player for Celtic.
Only you could answer this, because obviously Tam and myself and Ruffy, we like hanging about with each other at nights out because we are rascals. We like people who've got that kind of a devilish attitude about them. I think James and Callum would probably distance themselves from us at the bar.
Be surprised.
yeah, good lads.
Be surprised.
Good on a night out.
Cal's surprisingly very lively on a night out.
Ah, good.
Really was. Same with James as well. So listen, you have your guys who they don't want you to see that side of them. I mean, they have their football and then they have their private life. But when they're out to have a good time, they have a good time. So
well, his honours are incredible. 24 now, and the titles are absolutely incredible that he's landed. So long may he play on. I think James Forrest has got a lot to offer. I was just looking at 3 of the most decorated footballers.
How many trophies is that? Sorry, PLZ got
24. James, and Bobby Lennox has got 25. The ultimate being the European Cup. I mean, the strange thing about Bobby Lennox, and I'm not being in any way disparaging towards James, but Bobby Lennox, you know, scored a barrel-load of goals. He was outrageous for Celtic. I mean, just a phenomenal goal scorer and a brilliant player. That brought me to the point of those guys that have won the most trophies right across the world. I mean, Dani Alves not exactly covered himself in glory as far as personal life, but on the park, 46 trophies. Messi, 43 trophies. Ronaldo, 34. Although Ronaldo's got 5 Champions Leagues, which is absolutely outrageous, isn't it? I mean, it's just outrageous, isn't it?
Oh, it's and the level. You got to put in the level that these guys have been playing at consistency. It's just next level, to be honest.
It's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, when you actually get to the point, I mentioned this to you before, Tam, but when you actually get to the point, especially they do it at Barcelona, they do it sometimes at Real Madrid, but when Ronaldo eventually hangs up his boots, the ultimate photograph has to be all his trophies out in front, and he's just standing in front of them with his arms folded.
And you know he'd do it.
Would definitely. Absolutely.
He would absolutely. 1 to 50, he'd have his top off and all.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I genuinely think that his place in world football and history will go far higher once he hangs up the boots, because people will look at his stats and think it's outrageous. The posturing, the posing, all of that sometimes can go against him, but for me, he's special. He's absolutely special. He's in that top 5 players of all time for me. He's just absolutely phenomenal. Yeah,
don't get into lists with him, man.
I know. I'm not going to get into a list.
No.
I'll tell you one list I am going to get into, you guys, just on that point. Quickly, Ballon d'Or, Real Madrid. Not turning up, saying that they weren't respected by the committee because Vinicius Jr. doesn't win it. Well, I'm sorry. I just think that's sour grapes. I just think, listen, go to the awards. Do you know what? They're not the only club that do that. I know a lot of clubs that do that. Well, we're not winning, we're not coming. So what?
Awards.
I know,
so
name them.
Hey?
Clubs.
I'm not going to name them, but at the end of the day, if you don't want to go to awards and you can't face up to the fact that you haven't won it,
I'm with you. I think that was, you expect a certain level of class from a club like Real Madrid to, as much as for me, I think. What do you think, Rodri? Best player?
I think he was brilliant last year. I think Vinicius Jr. was great as well. But I totally agree with you about not turning up if you're not getting an award. That's why I never turned up for 15 PFA awards.
Yeah, but the other 10 that I paid for, you turned up for them all right. Kylian Mbappe got the Gerd Müller trophy. Harry Kane also, they shared that for their goal scoring. Aitana Bonmati got the Ballon d'Or in the women's end. She's a wonderful player. Jenny Hermoso got the Socrates Award. Lamine Yamal, the Copper Trophy for being under 21, some player. Rodri, Player of the Year. Goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez. And over and above that, I think Emma Hayes, Women's Coach of the Year. Ancelotti, Men's.
I love Ancelotti.
Yeah.
Love Ancelotti. Listen, I can see the argument. I can see why a lot of people thought Vinny, in terms of the goals and that's, I think when you're looking for individual award, you always look to the guy who's scoring the goals and the player who's getting you off your seat, but there's no question that the qualities that Rodri is the guy that Man City function and Spain function. That's why they've been so successful.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks to every one of you for the chat. Hopefully you obviously enjoy the programme. Don't forget to share it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tell your friends as well to join the football family. There's lots of competitions on the way as well. If you want to, in the feed, in the comments section, we've asked which club did Luka Modric join Real Madrid from. And if you put your name in there and you hit the subscribe button, double your chances of winning this shirt behind us. Ruffy and I picked that up in the Bernabeu when Celtic get absolutely battered by Real Madrid, and Real Madrid have gone on to batter more than a few.
I'll go for that as well.
Yeah, you going to go for that?
I like that.
Yeah, you know what you're like, by the way. You're like a magpie in here.
Number 10.
I'm surprised you haven't started taking the photographs off the wall.
The Cruyff one's getting eyed up like
yes. The other thing I was going to say to you, Tam, Man United, finally, it looks as if they're closing in on their man, Ruben Amorim, 39 years of age. He's got that £8.3 million release clause. So I love the Sporting fans who are asked about it. You know, they love him. He's won 2 titles with them, transformed the club again. And one fan says, anyone who abandons a project halfway through is not a man, he's a rat. I thought to myself, that's fans for you, isn't it?
As fans, you know, listen, fans are loyal, but listen, managers and players are look after themselves. And listen, Man United are a bigger club than Sporting Lisbon. You know, he's going to manage in the Premier League. But he's got to get time. You see it you've got a list there in front of you, Peter, of the managers. You want to read the managers out, and not all the managers are diddies.
Moyes, Van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ralf Rangnick, Erik ten Hag. All of them followed Sir Alex Ferguson, and none of them were able to really take United to the heights that they wanted. Although I would just put a caveat in there and say, he wasn't their cup of tea, Mourinho, but he delivered trophies.
5 finals.
You know? And I think, you know, sometimes when you look at the rest, I'm slightly biased towards David Moyes in the sense that I don't think he was given the time or the backing. I thought the chief executive was absolutely atrocious and left him wide open. But as far as the rest of them are concerned, some of them should never have been in the job in the first place. And I include Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in that.
Yeah, but I think when you come off the back of a Jose Mourinho, for instance, I know he was successful to an extent. I think maybe look at the players need a different type of approach from someone, obviously, like Jose Mourinho. So Solskjaer did have some decent moments in as a manager.
He won the Europa League.
Europa League. It's just a club trying to find itself for so long now. That's for me.
Yeah. Just before we go, I watched the game, Napoli AC Milan.
Flying.
By the way, Billy Gilmore comes off the park. Conte's cuddling him and everything. I mean, it's just, he's only a minute, 89th minute, he subs him. But they're doing really well.
They're flying. They're 7 points clear now, Peter. I think they've conceded 2 goals in the last 10 games. They're watertight at the back as well. And, you know, that could be, I don't know, does any Scottish player ever won Serie A?
It's a great question. I mean, Joe Jordan played for AC Milan. You know, Dennis Law, Joe Baker. Nope, I don't think there is a Scottish player.
So they could be the first 2 players to win the Serie A.
That's another game we should go to.
Yeah, that's absolutely. You turned into scatter cash, by the way. We need to get.
I'll get as a comps, but you can play flights.
That's fine. Atalanta, Inter, and Roma on the horizon for them. That really is the test of it. And just as a little footnote to you all, it's something that one of my favourite interviews, when people talk to me about lists, my favourite interview of all time, of the top 10 interviews I've ever conducted, one of them was with my hero, which was Hugh McIlvanney, who was a fabulous journalist, a legendary journalist. And the reason I mention that is 50 years ago this very day was the Rumble in the Jungle in Kinshasa in Zaire, where as a 9-year-old boy I can remember sitting in front of the old telly thinking...
Black and white?
No, it was colour, we were loaded. It was one of those situations where as a 9-year-old boy I was just praying to God, please don't let George Foreman kill Muhammad Ali. And he rope-a-doped him and knocked George Foreman out, and it was absolutely fantastic. And to hear the man who got an exclusive interview after the fight and Hugh McIlvanney talk about him was a joy. It's just one of my favourite interviews of all time.
I'll need to go and watch it. It's taking me a long way back, that.
Yeah, you'd love it. He talks about George Best, Jimmy Johnson, you name it, Bobby Charlton. He'd interviewed the best. He was a gem of a man, and it's well worth mentioning him on a day like today. Enjoy your football. I've got a cracking bet on with Kerry, our reporter. She's jumped right in, Tam. I know you like a wee gamble, but she's jumped right in. She thinks Rangers are going to win. I said, OK, they are favourites. Can you give me Aberdeen to win and the draw?
She's dived in with that.
She's just dived in, 2 feet, and it looks as if I'm in a good place.
Yep, and money goes to money, you'll win.
And on that note, thanks to Scott and to Tam McManus and to you. Don't forget, you can go onto our website ahead of Christmas and get yourself that ideal Christmas present for someone that you love. There's lots of competitions on the way as well. From Tam, from Scott, from myself, Peter Martin. Thank you for listening and watching.